Just when you thought the city of Portland, Oregon had already hit rock bottom, they show the world just how low they can go. Yes, Portland police were called out to help protect people who were eating dinner from a screaming maniac armed with a knife. And instead of arresting him, they decided to go home. Maybe the police saw people eating dinner and got hungry and went home to have dinner themselves. So the cops had a 3-hour-long standoff with this guy and did not make an arrest, but have no fear, they left undercover cops nearby. Yes, so that cops wearing hoodies could intervene after the maniac stabbed someone. This story is absolutely unbelievable, and you will not guess how it ends 48 hours later.
3-hour-long standoff in Northwest Portland between police and a man armed with a knife and pepper spray ended with no arrests on Monday night. Now business owners and neighbors are voicing their frustrations. Fox 12's Spencer Shaw joins us live from where that standoff happened. And Spencer, I know you spoke with police today. Did they say why they didn't make an arrest?
Well, Nora, the Central Precinct commander tells me that since this was such a busy area on Monday night and that the suspect was armed, their main goal was de-escalation so that no one got hurt.
So instead of arresting him, they decided to de-escalate. You know the best form of de-escalation? Arresting him.
Using separate tactics like tasing the suspect or firing non-lethal rounds. In fact, the suspect was standing right here at this Trimont bus station when those rounds were fired at him. And as you can tell, all the glass was blown out of this structure before he took off running towards a crowd who was eating dinner just right across the street.
Okay, so this guy says that the cops used a taser on him, but it didn't work. There are only 2 situations in which a taser would not work. 1, the taser didn't fully latch onto their skin, or 2, the dude's on PCP. Now, the guy did seem pretty cracked out, messed out, I don't know what, but usually that just means it takes like 3 or 4 tasers. So instead of the cops arresting him, they shoot this poor bus shelter instead. And there you go, you can hear the glass breaking, and then the guy runs away, screams, runs towards people eating dinner. Saying help. Oh my God. So these people are so scared that they leave their backpack right there. They leave their expensive, $150 little Patagonia backpack right there with all their stuff inside. Oh my God. You can see the guy's like hurt right there. He's holding a knife. He's screaming. He's shirtless. I do not understand how the cops weren't able to apprehend this guy. This is truly incredible. Okay, so they have him cornered right here. Right there. The cops have him cornered right here. You won't believe what the cops say to cover their ass on this.
Had it gone one way, we would have been criticized. Had we gone the other way, we would have been criticized. But ultimately, for me, it's about public safety and a true care and concern.
After an hours-long police standoff with an armed suspect, some members of the Northwest Portland community where it happened are expressing some concern about how Portland police let the suspect go free. Dunvey, tell us more about how police explained their approach to this.
Well, Barry, it started off quite confrontational between police and the suspect, so police focused on de-escalating the situation, and they did that by talking to the suspect for hours. And they also had a member of their crisis negotiation team overseeing things, and through that process, they realized that the suspect's aggression was mainly targeted at police officers and not towards the public.
This video taken...
Wait. So I already know the rest of this video. The cops actually say, well, the guy was excited because of the police. And so the police left and fled the scene to not make this guy excited anymore. They literally say this. I'm not making this up. I'll show you that in a second. But the truth of the matter is that the cops were initially called by a lady. She called 911. She was leaving work, and she said that she feared for her life leaving work because this guy was screaming outside, running around with a knife. And she said the cops didn't show up. So she actually called a friend to escort her out of the building.
And by a witness tells part of the story after police say they spotted a suspect for a property crime in the area of Northwest 21st. And it got ugly. According to PPB, the suspect used pepper spray on officers and then lunged at them with a knife before running off. Officers say they tried to use a taser and less lethal munitions, but they didn't work.
We had a full sidewalk when the perpetrator was kind of like cornered just 2 doors down. And we were forced to sort of evacuate, shelter in place, get away from the windows.
That's Sammy Gaston. She's the owner of this French cafe right here on 21st. After going through the lockdown, she's concerned with how it all ended.
The police had left the perpetrator
Portlanders know a thing or two about lockdowns, I'm sure.
still in front of the door of Scotty's Pizza, like barricaded. They turned a picnic table on its side, and he's inside of it yelling. He eventually comes out, and the next thing I know, he's freaking out.
All of this leaving.
Wait, how is a guy able to evade the cops by essentially making like a living room fort, like something a 4-year-old would do?
Gatson feeling unsafe.
We're exhausted, we're tired, we're just like, we just lost a ton of money, and this guy's going free.
PPB says they let the suspect.
Take a guess at who she voted for, what her politics are, these Portlanders. Even they are pissed off at the police lack of response.
Go because he was not a threat to the public. Even then, a bartender who was also on lockdown felt uneasy about it.
They said that they deemed him not as a threat anymore, but honestly, who knows what could have happened. He still had that knife. He still had pepper spray on him.
Commander Brian Hughes with PPB.
What does it say about your city when a guy who honestly looks like a methed out Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, running around screaming with blood on his hands, macing people, overturning tables? What does it say about your city when you're like, that's just part of the ambiance?
PPB assuring the community that public safety was at top of mind. He says de-escalation was a good thing in this situation.
Clearly, when I saw the video of the man running, he appeared to be, to me, it appeared to be in crisis, not making the best of decisions. Officers quickly were able to contain him to that area, move all the people out of.
He appeared to be in crisis, not making the best of decisions. I guess that's one way of putting it. Yeah. Not to get too dark, but how would this police force manage like a school shooter or something? Well, the guy appeared to be in crisis, so we decided to give him weeks of therapy before taking him out. Miserable.
Commander Hughes clarified that they didn't just get up and leave the scene like it may have appeared.
One of the things I really want to clear up is that we did not just completely leave the area.
It's a lie.
The incident commander at the time made a decision to put officers in plain clothes and in unmarked cars to be in the neighborhood to watch and ensure that the subject was not going to be a threat to the community.
So the cops say they didn't actually flee the scene. They left undercover officers. Who do they think this guy is? El Chapo?
And Portland police also say that they are developing a plan to eventually arrest the suspect.
The police are developing a plan to eventually arrest the suspect. Have you ever heard a sadder sentence in your life? This story is stranger than fiction. I can't believe it's real. And it only gets worse from here. So 2 days later, 48 hours later, they finally arrest this guy. According to their personal plan, I don't know, maybe they put it on a vision board. They were finally able to make this arrest. They had armored vehicles, robots, and, quote, used time as a tactic.
First to breaking news in Northwest Portland, where police say they have a suspect in custody after a brief standoff that ended within the last 20 minutes. The second standoff with the same man in the same neighborhood in less than 48 hours.
The first was Monday night and ended with police deciding to walk away and not make an arrest. Catherine Cook is live for us in Northwest Portland. Catherine, give us an update on what's happening where you are right now.
Christine and David, police have just taken the gentleman into custody. Here with us live is Sergeant Kevin Allen with an update.
Right now he's actually on his way to jail. Where for the past few hours now, we have been at this location. There were some streets blocked because of the operation here, and we were using the Special Emergency Reaction Team and the Crisis Negotiation Team, coupled with the Major Crimes Unit from the Detective Division, as well as Central Precinct Neighborhood Response Team and patrol officers. So it was a pretty...
4 different squads? You needed 4 different squads to catch methed out Johnny Depp. The funniest part about this is that these are US police. They have weapons. This isn't like European police where all they have is a butter knife.
Broad operation, and I'm going to have the chief speak to his priorities and the reason we devoted so many resources to this. But
Translation, we devoted way too many resources to this one guy, and I'm gonna leave it to the chief to explain his dumb decision.
The short version is that we established that the suspect was in a tent at this location, 21st.
No shit, in a tent, wow. I would have guessed he had a 6-bedroom single-family home.
And Hoyt, and the Special Emergency Reaction Team used their vehicles. They have armored vehicles that they use to move in, surround the tent so that he couldn't run like he did on Monday.
How many armored cars and tanks does it take to surround one camping tent? Was it like a stretch armored limo?
Concerned that he would be out in the neighborhood running around with knives and other weapons. So the priority was to get him contained. That was very successful, kept him in the tent, and then we slowed things down, used time as a tactic, used our crisis negotiation.
No. They just said used time as a tactic. I love this. I'm totally going to use that at my job. Whenever my boss asks me why it took so long to complete a task, I'm going to say, I'm using time as a tactic. Settle down. It'll get done.
To try to communicate with him and do everything we could to resolve this in with the least amount of force necessary. There was some tools that were used, including OC canisters and CS gas. There was also EDU robots that we have in place here.
Wait, saying that they used robots just has me thinking of like a Tesla humanoid robot, just like casually walking up to the tent and saying, "Please, sir, can I have your mace?"
That were also utilized in order to make sure that everything was resolved in as safe a manner as possible. And my understanding is there were no injuries as a result of this. So I will be available for questions. Commander Hughes will be available for questions, but I'm going to have Chief Bob Day step forward and have...
So now it's starting to come together a little more. They couldn't use any force. The community didn't want them to use force or something. They would get negative pushback if they used any kind of force against this guy. This guy says there were no injuries, but actually the maniac with the knife did get injured in some way. The reporters end up asking another cop about this. So the Portland reporters themselves seem more concerned about this guy having some minor injury than the cops taking over 2 days to arrest a guy with a knife. I know one person who was very upset about the cops' response, and it was the lady who initially called 911, and by the way said the cops did not immediately respond. Remember I said she had to actually ask a friend to help her leave the building.
Drop the knife! This standoff started around 5:30 Monday night, but an hour before, a woman who didn't want to show her face on camera for her own safety called 911 to report suspicious behavior.
So there was someone outside my office that made me feel unsafe because I had to close up, and it looked like he had at least some sort of weapon in the back of his pants.
PPB didn't immediately respond, and she ended up calling a friend to help her close up her shop. But when she got home, she was shocked to see this video going around online.
Just to see that it was the exact same guy, because I recognized his outfit and what he was looking like, how he looked. And so it was just kind of crazy to me that it ended up in a standoff.
PPB confirmed they tried to tase the suspect, and that did not work. So they switched to de-escalation tactics, where they brought in a crisis negotiator to talk to the suspect for more.
Oh my God, this angle is way worse. How many cops are out there? This is not even the 2 days later when they brought in tanks and basically like half of the US military. This is when they have, I don't know, like 20 cops all running after this guy. Look at all those cops running right there. This is insane. And then they all corner him and nothing.
Results though was they were getting de-escalation from him. They were learning from the gentleman that did not appear to be a threat to the public at that time, that he had no intentions of harming anybody in the area. And as an organization, you really have to take all of those factors into consideration when making a decision on whether or not to use force on somebody.
In the end, no arrests were made and uniformed police officers left the scene. Commander Hughes did add plainclothes officers did stay in the area to keep an eye on the suspect. But many folks out here along 21st Street are wondering if more could have been done.
It was just kind of strange that like nothing really happened and they left, and I think the guy ended up just like hanging out here for a little while.
It's a bit scary actually, just because I physically saw that he had weapons. I saw knives, and now that last night happened, I don't know what his state of mind is, and maybe he's going through something, but I don't feel safe. And so I'm not sure why he was kind of just left.
So this lady can't even be on camera. They're just showing her suede boots. Really pretty risky to wear suede in such a rainy city, but that's another story. She's so afraid that some of her fellow citizens will attack her and call her names and God knows what else for being upset about a homeless man with a knife who's macing people and running around screaming. Honestly, truth is stranger than fiction at this point with this city. Portlandia, the sketch comedy show from a few years ago, like they had to invent fictional sketches just to kind of lovingly mock the city. Now the city has literally just become bad sketch comedy.